The Southern Air Temple is the third episode of season 1 of Avatar The Last Airbender, which in my opinion is the greatest show of all time. And when I say greatest of all time, I mean that point blank period, including adult media, including live action. It's just so great on so many levels. The characters are amazing, the story is captivating, and the visuals are immaculate. When it comes to this third episode, I believe it's the first great or truly great episode of this series, since the first two-parter opening, it's very good, but it's not to the level of what Avatar later becomes. But I believe that this episode, the Southern Air Temple, is a glimpse of what Avatar becomes in the second and third season. But when it comes to thematically, I believe this episode is kind of a third opening, a third part, you can say, of that two-part opening, since Aang kind of leaves his past behind at the end of this episode and moves forward and truly starts his journey, which is exactly what the Netflix adaptation did. They bunched up these 3 episodes into the start, eliminated that Avatar state, and that Avatar stayed in the second episode, that is, and then put more weight on the third one. Unfortunately, they executed very poorly, but I do think that in theory that is a good idea, since these 3 episodes are really the 3-part opening to this journey, and they really begin going out in the world after this. So, without further ado, let's get into the characters. So, this episode is mostly focused on Aang, or primarily focused on Aang, with the Zuko in the B plot and Katara and Sokka playing a supporting role to Aang, while Iroh is playing one to Zuko. And in Aang's case, the episode mostly focusing on his denial towards the airbenders being actually dead, since he trying to convince himself that, oh, no one can reach the air temples without sky bison, or some got away, or he tried to convince himself he had hope. The excitement early, when the episode begins in the early scenes with them at their camp, really shows his hope for his people. And of course he's a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old boy. Of course he wants to see his family again, and it's an important character beat for him, I believe, since we couldn't just gloss it over, just like, oh, yeah, his people are dead and he has no effects on him. Of course, he needs to go through this and deal with this loss. And I think it's good that we deal with it early, but also have it linger throughout the story, because, of course, this trauma would, of course, linger with someone or really change a person, which it does with Aang, which makes this action, or this not action but this event, feel important, which it is not in Netflix adaptation. I will tell you that it does not feel as important to Aang's development, which it does here. And yeah, it's a really good character beat. We needed to have it, and it's good it comes this early, and Aang really comes out a more mature person after this, even though he does regress something like the storm, which deals with this even more. And when we talk about the storm, we can also talk about the flashbacks, because there are a flashback in this episode about Gyatso, and its only purpose is really to show the Aang connection with Gyatso, since it's his death we react to later. So if we don't have a connection to Gyatso, we can't really feel anything. But I wish there were a little more of those flashbacks to really strengthen that connection, to show how important Gyatso is to Aang, to really make us feel more when that eventual death comes. And yeah, spoiler alert if anyone hasn't seen it, I guess. But that scene is really wholesome, and it really shows Aang's perspective back then. But it isn't anything special. I wish some of the storm, and the storm was a great episode. I will do like a deep dive on the storm when I come to it, but I wish a few of those flashbacks were here, or a few new ones, just to get a little better connection, a little better story around Gyatso, a little more of his character, to really make us feel even more when that Avatar State moment happened at the end of the episode. And speaking about the Avatar State, that is a great moment. You really feel for Aang, and Gyatso is a menace, by the way, that he just murders the whole. Well, we don't really know what happened, but we can assume what he did to those firebenders. But I do wish that this Avatar State was the first one, because it kind of makes it worse that we had they have an Avatar State moment in the previous episode at Zuko's ship, because that weird thing with all the temples started glowing, and why didn't that happen the previous time at Zuko's ship? That I don't know, and it would just hit harder. And as I spoke about earlier, it's kind of the unofficial third part of the opening, so it would make more sense. And they did that, like I said, in the Netflix show, and I think that's a good idea, since it kind of feel like it was the plan all along, and they just added the Avatar State as Zuko's ship, so we can show it earlier in the opening episodes, I guess. But I feel like it just doesn't do anything there, and it does so much more here. But the Katara speech that gets him out of the Avatar State is just a great speech about family, and it really hits you where it should. And it hits so much harder here than it did in the Netflix show, because, well, the Netflix show, the Gyatso did it, but even when Katara did it in the finale, here I feel like they spent more time together, ironically, since they haven't spent that much time together. But just having fun, being normal, and really caring about each other is how I personally feel like that speech actually hits where it's supposed to hit. And that snake joke in the sleeping bag in the opening shot really does wonders for this end speech to really hit where it's supposed to hit. And I believe it fulfills its role and really, captivates a feeling inside of really sadness, but also hope that Aang had in the beginning. Now he has it again with his new family, and I really believe that's a nice bow tie to the whole episode. But if we continue with the siblings, if we talk about Katara for a second, she really shines in this episode with her sympathetic side, her motherly side that we really see a lot of in the show, but it really shines through here first. And we can really feel her conflict. Should she tell her? And she kind of feels like she should, but she can't really, because she can't hurt Aang like that. And I feel like that's such a real situation we all been in at some time. And she tiptoes around the problem, and Sokka is the more logical one. He tries to tell Aang a little more, but Katara just can't. And Sokka is, he definitely shows the early characterization really strongly here. And the airbar moment where Sokka cheers Aang up is so wholesome, and I really love that. And that speech also to that their time together, and I feel like they are kind of a family, the new family. And those moments really show it, that they sacrifice for each other, that they not love maybe, but they do love each other eventually. But maybe this is a little too early, but they really care for each other at least. One thing with Sokka I do feel like it's a little overdone is the food focus that he really has in these early episodes in general. He really talks about it a lot, and it really makes him kind of one-dimensional. Katara, I feel like it's a little better, but Sokka's food thing, it does go throughout the whole show, but I feel like it's so focused on in this episode. It's so overdone in just this episode. It's okay to have a little thaw here and there, but I feel like there should be like one, max 2 jokes per episode about Sokka's food cravings. Like, they should not be this many. It really drags his arc down, but it doesn't drag the whole episode down too much, because it is only a few scenes, and Sokka is the supporting character. It's not really the focus in this one, so it's not too bad. But it is one of the reasons why this episode is not up there with the best, but maybe a tier below. But still a great episode. When it comes to the B plot now, Zuko obviously has his focus on honor, which he does the whole season 1, and it really is his comparisons with Chow that really stands out with the honor question. And it's the final fight. Shao has no honor. He tries to blast Zuko in the back, and we got a good Iroh scene there where he really shows his capability, because up till now we really only shown Iroh as a bumbling old man, really not capable at all. Not too much wisdom actually in the first few episodes. Really more of a funny character. Really like hides his true self, I guess. The fun-loving, calm, a little lazy, but he shows those flashes at the end fight. And Zuko has a really good dialogue with Zhao, with really important exposition about his banishment, and that flows really naturally as kind of aggressive conversations people would have in this situation, and it really flows naturally with the exposition. It's kind of hard sometimes to really get that in there, but Zuko's exposition about his banishment and about his family, we get in there just a little bit, a sprinkle, and that's what's good with a show. You can really sprinkle it in there a little everywhere, and we really get the whole thing in the storm. But I feel like it's good that we get a little bit here, since we do have comparisons with Aang, and the show loves to do that. But if you just look at the lighting and the colors in the finale with Aang in blue and Zuko in red, and which is something Overanalyzed talked about, and if you haven't seen that video, go and see it. But it's really the themes of family, that Aang found his family, and they can never go back to the original family. Zuko's family isn't there for him, while Aang wasn't there for his family, and it's just the similarities is really shown here, while with the Shao, it's really the differences. And I love these comparisons the show makes, both visually and with the dialogue and the themes. They really connect these three characters beautifully, and Zhao is such a fun character in this first episode. He has such a snake way to be. Like he's a little above, and you just kind of hate him instantly. Just how he talks and how he says he's promoted now. Like you can really feel like he's a little snake, and I just love that. And we cannot forget the best scene, or not the best scene, but one of the best scenes in this show, or in this episode, and that is, I will never forget when Zuko says that, and it pans over to his scar that just hits every time. And this show is just great at using Zuko's scar as the symbol for his family and his past. It's just chef's kiss on that scene. If we go to Iroh a little bit, yeah, he's fun-loving, but I do want to point out the scene when he trickles over the weapons in the background, and he 100% does that on purpose. I never thought about that before, but when I watched that overanalyzed video on it, and he pointed that out, I was like, damn, that's so true. And I totally agree, he did it on purpose to give Zuko a second to think, and I just love that from Iroh. It really shows his cunning from an early stage, when he's not that wise yet, really. He's more of a lazy and dumb character in the beginning. But if we go to the worst part of the episode, which is the fight between Zuko and Shao, the Agni Kai, and it's just unfortunate, because if this fight was anything that we get later in the series, I understand that this is the third episode, we can't really do, they weren't really experienced with the fights, but the bad choreography, they really have no creativity, it's just punching kicks. Reused animation really hurts this fight bad, but it does have a good scenery. That bright red background, it's just amazing. But The themes are there, the ending is there. It's just the choreography, the fight itself is just not there, and it's a shame, and it really holds down this episode. But yeah, overall, a great episode. The first really great episode, truly great episode in Avatar: The Last Airbender. It shows so amazing flashes so early, and really shows what this series eventually becomes and what it grows into. But it is not perfect. We have some goofy sound effects that really present in the first season, which is a shame. The final fight isn't as good. Sokka's food thing is a little overdone. I wish it was more Gyatso. But otherwise than that, it was just one of the best season 1 episode. Maybe behind Jet and the Storm, in my opinion. Maybe the Blue Spirit as well, but otherwise than that, it's a great episode. And the fact that we got this good of an episode so early, yeah, is not a surprise that this show becomes so good. If you like this video, please consider subscribing and giving this video a like or thumbs up, and comment what episode you want me to do next, because I will try to do all, is it 61 episodes I think, of Avatar, a deep dive on each one like this one. And please just comment what I can do better, what you liked, what you didn't like. And until next time, I hope you have a great day.